I see you found our little hiding spot in the universe. Don't get too comfortable. This is a place where you will find those with an experience that's out of this world, or possibly deep within your life. I welcome you to the Oracles with James Tyson. Lean forward and listen. We will pull you into a supernatural journey with guests from around the world, each one experiencing some of the most extraordinary phenomena this wee planet has to offer. I wish to invite you to support the program through the Oracles with JamesTyson.com Patreon link. For as little as $3 per month, you qualify for a free monthly psychic reading, a past life regression, and exclusive access to our filmed interviews. Don't lower your guard. That's just the beginning as we give back. When I have reached 2,222 members, we will be giving away monthly trips to supernatural hotspots and conferences across North America. Don't run. I can see you. With a limit of 4,500 Patreon supporters, you will want to get your passports ready, as every third month, we will include paranormal conferences and tours in Europe and Australia. I know you can hear me. Visit theoracleswithjamestyson.com and click on the Patreon link. Where are you listening? That's the Patreon button at theoracleswithjamestyson.com. Now, here are the Oracles with James Tyson.
Thank you, Liam, and thank you, everyone, for tuning into this episode of the Oracles with James Tyson. I am the James Tyson Fellow, which it says so right on the sign here in front of me. And today I have with me my friend Gaylen Chauncey. Now, Gaylen is the founder of the Ghost Hunters of Virginia and is the author of Ghost Stories, the Make-Believe and Boogeyman Chronicles. She's a paranormal investigator for, almost 30 years now. And she says there are other things in the dark beside ghosts. So sometimes Monster Hunter is used to describe Galen. Labeled Geomancer, which basically means she's a human EMF detector, it makes it easier for her to go hunting when she can feel spirits' energy. Now, Galen helps with hauntings because she believes ghosts must move on. God is forgiven. They just have to learn to forgive themselves. What sometimes may feel like an evil experience may just be a sad, frustrating, lost, angry spirit. Galen works with the good and the bad and the ugly of the paranormal. As an author of Make-Believe and the Boogeyman Chronicles, it's based on ghost and monster experiences. Galen believes in sharing information on the paranormal so we can all learn from each other. Even if it only helps one person, it's all worth it at the end of the day. But it does make it easier to go ghost hunting when you can feel there is nothing to fear from the ghosts. Now, a spirit photographer taking pics of ghosts, mists, and orbs she can see with her eyes, she basically is a researcher of anything paranormal, which is kind of freaky to start with. She's a tour guide at the haunted St. Albans Sanatorium. She has been interviewed by TV, radio, news, with articles and pictures featured in paranormal magazines and television. She has appeared in job fairs at schools and at ghost conferences on Paranormal Investigating. I gotta really talk to you about that whole job fair thing, whether kids want to apply to be ghost hunters. And it's been a subject of college papers on the supernatural and paranormal. Titled An Aura Reader, which is the ability to read the energy of a ghost and clairseeing, seeing spirits. It is why she goes first into any haunted location. She is a researcher into anything paranormal and is a field investigator for the Virginia chapter of MUFON. Gaylen, thanks for dropping by.
Oh, thank you for having me, James.
Oh, it's fun. So, because this is my new little show, I'm introducing you to another group, another audience out there. Take us back to, which we'll touch on your book. Take us back into what you did as a child and when this first started to appear to you, this ability to see things that other people didn't.
Well, it's a good thing that I'm not a child in today's standards. They probably would have considered me schizophrenic, seeing things that weren't, that nobody else could see. The good thing about being a child, when you're first seeing these things, you weren't afraid of them. At least most children and I were not afraid of them, even though my parents and family and friends could not see them. Like with every child in the world, fear is something that you learn. Okay, and so I wasn't afraid at first. It was I didn't like them near me. I didn't like that. Didn't like them coming close to me. Didn't like them touching me. But I really didn't fear them. So my mom is basically, she was psychic, okay? And she taught me that ghosts were transparent. They couldn't touch things. So if they couldn't touch you, they couldn't hurt you. So that helped me a lot. Okay, well, I see them and they can't hurt me. Okay. And so you learn to live with it and keep your mouth shut, because people looked at you weird when you said stuff and said somebody was there and there was something here. There were places that my instinct was strong enough to know that it's dangerous and I wouldn't go, and I couldn't explain why. Just I knew that the energy feeling coming from it was different. So when I had my very first monster experience, this was the reason why I wasn't afraid at first. Okay, it was because this thing taught me fear. It was the first time I learned what real fear was, and to be scared that sometimes you have to be. And so this monster taught me that, but I was caught off guard because of that belief of knowing that they couldn't hurt me.
What kind of monster was this thing?
I don't know exactly what it was, okay? All I saw was the hand when it came out of the light and grabbed my sister. It looked like, but it was scaly. Okay. And I think, if I remember, it kind of looked green. I hate to say like a lizard, but that's almost what the hand looked like. And, but the fingers were human, just the claws and the scales were unusual. Because you could tell it was like a human hand, except for the claws were probably at least an inch or so long, and they were solid black, and it had 5 fingers and a thumb.
What's the scenario around that? Like, fill me in on, paint the picture as it is. Okay. What's going on here?
So, we had moved into this new house, okay, and I was after a while, just got used to why there were so many ghosts in this house. I wasn't used to that many in one place. So I was okay. Just the normal stuff was happening. Furniture being moved in the middle of the night while we were sleeping. That, believe it or not, was normal for me. Okay, normal for us. Seeing the shadows, hearing the whispering, that was normal to us. We got used to this stuff. You just, I didn't know to be afraid, so you just got used to it. So this thing blindsided us because there was nothing dangerous. I didn't even know it even existed. Didn't even know something like that was real. So one night, it made the mistake of grabbing my sister off the bed, pulled her off the bed, and I grabbed her, and if I had not thought fast and anchored my feet up on the bed frame, she would have been gone because I had a hold of her arm. And that's what kept her from being pulled further underneath the bed. And I look underneath the bed to see what's going on. There's no fear going on. I'm just curious what is happening. And there is a beam of light coming out of the floor, probably a foot or so in diameter, and hitting up to the bottom of the bed. This light was not like a reflective light. Like it wasn't lit up the whole room or nothing. It was just the light was centered on this beam. And my sister's legs had actually disappeared into this beam of light.
Jeez.
And it was weird because I looked at the floor around the beam of light, and I thought it was strange because it was a wood floor and it rippled like waves of a lake.
Oh.
Yeah. So even though I saw this hand grab out, because I was losing this tug of war, she was getting pulled under, and it grabbed her, and that's how I saw it, was it reached up her leg to get a better grip on her leg to pull further. It came out of the light, so that's why I only saw the hand. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I just couldn't believe it was real. No alarm bells going off. And so my sister's legs had disappeared into this light, and I saw this claw-like hand come out of the light, okay, and reach up her leg to get a higher grip on her leg to pull her down further into the light. You should have seen the look on my sister's face. She wasn't screaming, but she was so scared, and she was begging me not to let her go. In that moment, I had decided, because I knew I was losing this tug of war, that if she, got pulled into the light, I was going with her, because I wasn't going to leave her alone to face whatever it was by herself. And all of a sudden, I hear this woman's voice say, "Scream." And I look up, and there's a woman standing there, and I can tell she's a ghost. And because I just having a hard time believing what I was seeing, I looked at her and said, "Why?" I was stupid, okay? And she leaned down and looked straight at me and said, "If you do not scream now, you both will be gone forever." I knew what death was, and she, and that didn't sound like death. And this feeling came over me that I realized this terror an instant terror. It was the first time I've ever felt fear in my entire life, and I knew we were in trouble. So I screamed my head off, and my dad came into the room, and it let go of us. He couldn't get us back in the room that night. Just refused to go back into the room that night. So the next morning, he decided that, hey, there's nothing to be afraid of, and forced us into our bedroom and locked us in. It was such an old house. It had one of those skeleton key locks where it could be locked in from the outside. I'm begging my dad to let us out. And my sister's curled up in a fetal position at my feet. And I knew that not to look behind me, because it didn't matter if it was day or night, that it was there. And it was going to get us. And then all of a sudden I heard the same voice tell me, "Girls, close your eyes." And we instantly obeyed, closed our eyes. And because I was pushing so hard and banging on the door, next thing I know, I fell forward onto my hands and knees, because it was like the door disappeared. Okay. So I fell forward and opened my eyes, and we were outside our house in the street. Our parents could not believe it, because it was the only window in the whole bedroom was a bay window. It didn't open. The door was still locked and closed. To get outside, we would have had to pass the living room anyhow, where they were sitting in. And they wanted to know how we got outside. They were really freaked by the fact that we got outside. And that's when I think it finally occurred to them that something really weird, not just ghosts, but something really scary was going on. But we lived with our grandmother for about 4 months, because they could not get us back into that house. You could not get me back into that house.
Yeah.
Now, yeah.
Yeah.
14 years later, I went back. Yeah, I did eventually go back into it. But whatever was there was gone. The spirits were all still there. The ghosts, they were all still there. But whatever creature that was, I couldn't feel it. Couldn't feel that kind of danger. I learned a lesson that day that feeling means, red alert. To listen to that feeling, because like I said, I didn't really know what fear was, so I didn't recognize this sensation I was feeling as fear. Okay, that something was wrong, and not to, take a chance. And that's when I learned that.
Oh, that's amazing. Going back to that house, you knock on the door and said, "Hey, I grew up here. There's a portal to hell underneath this bed." How do you...
Luckily for me, I'm from California. So, California people are very laid back. So when I opened the door, they were like, "Yeah, come on in. You want to get high? Got some marijuana?" They are that, the typical California couple. I was just relieved. They were just really happy. And so they let me in, and I walked around with my camera and, saying I wanted to take pictures and some video. And they had a 3-year-old little girl. Okay. So she grabs me all of a sudden and starts pulling me into the hallway. Okay. And she pulls me into the bathroom. And her mom was following us. And you can imagine trying to understand a 3-year-old when they're trying to talk to you. Okay. And it took her several tries before I finally got it out of her. And she was pointing to the bedroom that used to be my bedroom. And she says, they're in there. And I got all this on video. And she goes, and finally got through. She said, they know you are here. Their ghost recognized me.
Oh, wow.
They knew who I was. Yeah. And so the parents started telling me about experiences with the house, and I told them mine, and I told them the truth. I said, anytime that your daughter says that there's something underneath the bed, and I tell people that you got to listen to your child's fear. Whether it's real or fake, you really got to listen to it. And I felt like it was the right thing to do was to warn them, and I did.
Oh, wow. I bet they were just tickled pink that you said.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Portal to hell under the bed. Yeah.
Oh, jeez. You should have heard them when they went. What you think was weird, but did you ever have paranormal experiences in this house? They had no idea. I know my jaw dropped to the ground. I was, just. So that's why one of the reasons why they were so open, because they actually were going to ask me that.
Oh, good. But they didn't have anything as negative, obviously, as you did.
Yeah, they did have the negative, and which was that room. I told them that used to be my room, and they said, well, that's the bad room. And they made it into the guest bedroom, but I always laugh wondering why in all these houses that the haunted room becomes the guest bedroom. Yeah, I guess you don't want the guests to stay very long.
Well, psychologically, you want the guests to take it with you, or with you and leave.
But in a place like that, with so many spirits attracted to one certain area, it's very difficult. I had to do a lot of research to understand why these so-called portals opened up here and there, why this was happening, why some places could have hauntings but never have that, or something else can come through. And I don't know where it was from. I do believe there are other dimensions. Mm-hmm. Okay. And like here, there are some good people and bad people, or whatever they are, and that's the same thing.
Do you think they could be something like elemental beings?
There are elemental beings, but nothing, to me, I've never encountered something like that was dangerous. Okay. But an elemental being is something that I don't feel is dangerous. I don't know why they just don't project that kind of energy. They're like us researching. I don't know. I almost want to say that they're researching us. But there are several, things I've encountered that I know are from other dimensions that can't be from here because, yes, I know that new species are being discovered every day, but come on, you mean to tell me that this thing is right here and it just, nobody's ever seen one before? So it makes me think that, somehow they come through slips. That's what I call it. People call them slip? Yeah. Portals, yeah, and I just call it slip of dimensions because I think a lot of them come here by accident. They just happen to be in the right spot at the wrong time.
Yeah. That's fascinating. In your research about these portals, have you any conclusions with your experience and what you've dug into?
Yes, especially with haunted houses. And now is the thing, but ley lines were something that people didn't know about. And I happened to be in this old bookstore, okay, and there was this old, one of those Reader Digest picture books, the big, thick ones, and it was talking about weird things. So, it'll just be fun to read. I'll pick it up. And inside of it was about ley lines. This is what convinced me, okay? They were talking about ley lines and how the Chinese were one of the first people really to be aware of them, okay, that they know of in recent history, and how they built churches and places like that across these ley lines. And when asked why they did this, the Chinese said because sometimes the energy is stronger through these ley lines, okay? And because this happens, gremlins come in. So these churches are put onto these ley lines to kind of diffuse that energy when it happens. So when it said gremlins, I said, even though I saw only a hand, and I think it was more, reptile looking, that's gremlin. And I went, and it just clicked. I said, that's what it is. And back then, they didn't map the ley lines of the United States yet. Okay, and it's a very difficult thing to do. And I finally was able to map out certain areas where houses were very haunted by several different ghosts. Okay, and to come find out that these places were sitting on ley lines that were interacting with several ley lines. And it made sense to me that this energy and so these spirits are attracted to it, but that made sense where these portals are coming from. When the Chinese said gremlins, I knew that they were talking about the same thing that I had saw.
This is one heck of a gremlin.
You got that right. And its purpose was not good. You just don't take a child in the middle of the night, and it's really scary how many children disappear in circumstances like that. Which,
as spending 28 years as a policeman, I've never heard of a child disappearing from their bedroom at night.
And it's rare, but it happens, and from locked rooms, inside a closet. How does your child walk into a closet? Everybody hears him, and then he's gone.
Wow.
It has happened. So to me, I was lucky that this place was so haunted with spirits that this lady stepped in and helped me. None of the other ghosts there did that. But
I wonder if that ghost had seen this happen before.
I have no idea, because with all the different ones I've encountered, I've never seen her again. So I don't know whether she's staying there to help kind of like protect people that is like me and my sister. Okay. And I don't know if we were the only ones, doing history research back then.
I got you back. I lost you right after doing research, and then you went blank.
Oh. So start off just doing research.
Actually, I think you were I think you were just ending a sentence. So
yeah, I was going to say. I think maybe I just got hopefully that was it where I just ended it.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to ask you a question here. We're talking to Gaylen Chauncey. She is a geomancer. She is a monster hunter. Heck, she's a ghost hunter. She also is connected to and is one of the founding people of Ghost Hunters of Virginia, ASI. What does the ASI stand for?
It was an abbreviation a long time ago that one of my teammates made up. So I can't even remember what it was. It's been that long ago.
Yeah. Well, if you look up that, Google Ghost Hunters of Virginia, ASI, you'll track her down and track her team down, kicking and screaming. And Afterlife Goes On Investigations is the other thing you'd want to look at. Go to Facebook, Afterlife Investigations, see some of the video, some of the photographs that is uploaded there. Galen, your experience as a child and then going back looking at all this stuff later, did you then kind of keep this a big part of your life since you were a kid, or did it kind of come back later in life?
No. When this experience happened with the monster, my first monster experience, it changed the dynamics between my dad and I. Because he was supposed to be my protector. Yeah. He was supposed to believe us. And then he put us in mortal danger by locking us in our room. I was so angry that I vowed when I turned 18, I was going to prove to them that this stuff was real. Mm-hmm. So because of that, And because of my experiences, I was practicing my ability at such a young age of sensing, of seeing, and I just kept increasing it. When I turned 18, I had, like everybody else who's a paranormal investigator, I had no idea the hard road in front of me that was going to be there and how hard it was just to get evidence. And when you got evidence, they still didn't believe you. I had no idea, and that was my motivation. I understand the fear that these people feel, and I didn't want anybody to ever feel like I did.
Yeah.
I didn't want anybody to ever feel that fear, and I wanted to help people and go, I believe you. And when I do an investigation, I have to keep both feet on the ground. It doesn't matter what I see, okay, because you can't see it. Doesn't matter what I feel because you can't feel it. And I'm talking about my clients, they only experience stuff when it happens in front of them.
Yeah.
So I've got to prove to them as well to myself that what they're experiencing is real. And that is when I need to get evidence. I am very lucky. For some reason, ghosts love to chat to me. I cannot hear them, okay? But you give me a recorder and the place is haunted, what do you want them to say? I get that many. It's a joke. People think I fake it because I get so many and I can't get them to shut up. Heaven forbid should they actually answer a direct question. They just tell me what they want to say, And, you've heard some of my stuff. And,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, and some of the stuff was with, a tape recorder with the white noise in the background, and some of them are with the digital. Thank God that came out because it cleared up a whole lot of that white noise problem.
Yeah. And
this is what I have to do to kind of go, I am for real, and I believe you. This is the evidence, and you are correct. The hardest thing is it's always more than what they think it is. And they think it's one ghost, and I have to tell them they got three. And I tell people that ghosts very rarely are by themselves. Mm-hmm. And they like to be together in groups. This helps with their energy. They kind of like feed off each other a little bit. And so when I walk into a house, you'd be surprised if I have to tell somebody you got 15 ghosts. You don't have one or two. And for me, it's they're everywhere. And that's what's sad. That these ghosts are still here and they're not supposed to be. This is not life. And it just blows my mind that there's something stopping them. And to me, I believe, and I have to believe, that God has already forgiven you. I'm not the judge and jury, okay? So I can never judge you for what you did when you were alive. God has forgiven you. The problem is when you pass on through the light, you'll look at your life and you have to forgive yourself. And my job is to convince them of that, to tell them exactly that and get them to move on, because one day they won't be here. I tell people, how many old ghosts do you hear about? There's not that many out there. You're lucky if you come across a ghost that's maybe 200 years old. And you don't have ancient ghosts, and there's a reason for that. And life does go on if you go through that light. And just forgive yourself. And that's a way of me helping them. And it's hard when it's men, women, children, poor, rich, different eras. It's harder for me to not understand why a child didn't move on. But to me, I think they're lost and confused.
Yeah.
And that's why I try to do that. It's just, I don't know, a calling you want to say. I don't charge. I never have. It costs me money. It costs me.
Oh, I lost you again.
Can you hear me now?
I do. We lost you right after you said it costs you money. So what I'm going to do is jump in on top of that.
Okay.
you might. Yeah, it does, because that is, well, for one thing, batteries. Good Lord. How many batteries do you think we go through? and people will say, oh, it's really great. Can I help you with anything? Can I pay? It's like, buy me a package of batteries. That's great.
Yeah, there you go. That's exactly what it is. And, the one thing I do is I run a Christmas toy run every year, and I call it the Spirits of Christmas. And so if people really want to give me money, I ask them to donate a toy for it. So it's not for me. So if I do have clients that insist they want to pay me something, so I ask them just to donate a toy in my toy run. And so I feel like I'm using that in my experiences and my knowledge to help with the homeless children too.
Good. Good. You live in Roanoke, Virginia?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
In a rural area, like up in the weeds, up in the mountains?
Yes.
Yeah. So obviously that's a very old, well, I shouldn't say old. Every place on Earth is old, but you've got a lot of history with the First Nations, American Indians. You've got settlers and battles and the war of this and the war of that and the Civil War, and you've got battlefields all over the place there. Yeah. So again, you were saying that you don't see ghosts from 500, 600, 700 years, but you still see a few popping around from about 300 years. Well, 200, like the Civil War. Do you still bump into a lot of those?
Yes, I do. And it's sad because it's really, I don't know what it is, but they always know that when you can see them. Okay. And when I do see one that actually is solid looking, it's always in black and white. They're never in color. And they watch me. They don't even attempt to open their mouth or communicate with me, but they're watching me. So they know I see them. And I look at it and I'm sitting here going, I have to decide, is this a recording or not? Is this just something that's recorded into the energy? But when you have something that's following you, watching where you're walking, because they know you can see them, that's not recorded history. That's actually a spirit standing there.
Now, when you say recorded history or a recording of energy, that's what's quite commonly called residual energy from an event or a spirit who has, made an imprint, whether that being, that human had died that day or lived a long life afterwards.
Yes.
It was just somebody with maybe a high vibration filled with adrenaline and fear and just kind of imprinted, or repetitive action over years.
Yes, and that happens, and sometimes I see that a lot. And so I always have to decipher between making sure what I'm seeing is real. But a lot of times I'm not in a situation where I can walk up to them and try to talk them into moving into the light. I'm with friends who don't understand that. It's in the street, with people walking by. I'm not going to stand there looking like I'm talking to nobody and then be hauled away in the paddy wagon. Yeah, it's just part of life when you have, this darn ability, and you got to continue on with life. Do you know what I mean? You got to live your life here, so you got to not make it a distraction.
Did you get them following you home?
No one would dare follow me home. I can protect myself very well, and I can hurt any spirit that attempts to try to hurt me back, and it's not something I like to do because it really does hurt them, and I don't like hurting anybody. But
That's interesting. How do you do that?
Actually, it's as a child, when these spirits were just coming at me. Okay, just so much so. And I learned that my sister could see auras, even though we didn't know what an aura was. Okay, because we didn't understand. My younger sister could see auras. And so I just knew that this light was around me. Okay. And one day, I didn't mind the other spirits, but there were other spirits that were not good spirits that would try to get close to me. And they were the ones that would set off that red alert that something's wrong. And by then, believe me, I paid attention to it. And finally, one day, I just got so angry, I was thinking of this light around me, kind of like the sun, and I wanted to burn it for coming close to me because it was coming at me so fast. And I just pretended I was the sun and bursted out, my light like the sun does, and hope, this is what was going through my mind. And when my light hit it, because it went out like a nova, it actually picked up the ghost off its feet, and then actually physically slammed it into the wall. I was so shocked it actually hit the wall, and it came crumbling down. Well, the first thing I noticed about it was really, before it was very strong. I could see it very clearly, and afterwards it was barely there. I could barely see it. And I saw the look on his face, and he was scared to death. I shocked him, but he was scared to death, and he just took off.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, I can't believe that just happened. And so when it happened again, I did the same thing. And I realized that you can do this. And I tell everybody they can do it. It's around them. The light is there. And that it's an energy that you can control. But it was self-defense. I was, my energy was high. I was scared. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So when you have that combined with somebody who has some type of ability, it just, it just really bursted out and hurt them, and I drained them is what happened. And that I didn't understand until years later what draining of a spirit was like, why they needed energy. At the time, I didn't know any of that. I was still a kid, and that's how I learned. And I use it, and when that happens, that's exactly what happens, and it's just, and I always warn them, get off, back off. And I always give everybody a chance. But when they don't, when you get when people call the old hag, the paralysis in your sleep, and somebody's there, and you hear this heavy breathing, and that's a spirit that's sucking energy off of you.
Oh, yeah, that sleep paralysis. I've had that numerous times. Usually I can imagine that, white light coming in from the universe through the top of my head into my heart, take a deep breath and push it out of the heart. And you hear them kind of go and push off. I got jumped by 3 of them in January of 2017, and I couldn't move, and they were growling, the main guy was growling in my ear. And psychic friend Skeeter Wellhouse showed up remotely the next day, and we confronted all 3 of them and found out when they jumped me, why, and we ended up crossing them all over. But I was intrigued why I couldn't get this bloody thing off of me at the time.
I tell everybody the same thing, that, hey, I can handle myself with one person fighting physically, maybe 2, but then any more than that, you're piling on top of me. I said the same with spirits. I said, I can handle 1 or 2 fine on my own, but any more than that, I said, come on, I couldn't even win a fight like that today. And what would make you think I could win a fight like that spiritually? Yeah. So I have to be very careful.
I cleared him out the bedroom. It was 20 minutes because I could look at the clock. It started at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I could see the clock. I could see my dog Kirby sleeping at the foot of my bed, and I couldn't move. And these things were just coming, and I kept trying to. I usually use the Archangel Michael when I can't move these things off, and I couldn't even imagine. Sometimes you can't say a word. Well, imagine when you can't think it. And you go to think Michael, and it comes out with a M. And I just took a deep breath, and I went, okay, I think I'll have to bounce this up to an ascended master. So I just took a deep breath. You're using that energy. You're using it to, and that's what it's there for. So not only is it, it's a defense system as well as part of your life. Your soul. And tell people that it is a defense system. It's there to protect you. I said you've got to, I know that most people, you and I have the experience that helps us deal with this better, but a lot of people don't. And all they can think about is they're just trying to move. Forget that. Concentrate on the light.
That's what, if you concentrate on that light and you push that light away from you against this thing, that is how you're going to wake up a lot faster, and you're showing this thing that you can protect yourself. Because the reason they get you when you're asleep, because you're asleep. Okay?
Yeah.
And we're not awake, and they're getting us when our defenses are down.
Yep, and you're a little bit maybe out of body, everything's relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as soon as I thought the word Jesus, my bedroom was, I've never had it that clear. Mm-hmm. It was absolutely nothing. Zip, gone, out of there. And I looked at the clock, it was 20 after 4, and I fell into the most wonderful deep sleep. I woke up the next day pretty pissed off still, but at the time, and then we went and dealt with them. But at the time, I've always been able to push them off up until then. But all they're doing is they're trying to scare you. And like Skeeter said, if they're growling at you, that's a good thing, because it's a human ghost trying to scare you and feed off your adrenaline.
Exactly. That's exactly what they're trying to do. Yeah, and that's why they do things in haunted houses to scare people. Okay, it's the fear that they're after. And I said, that's different. Your defense is different than releasing that kind of energy through fear. Yeah. And when I go investigating, my thing with my team is control the fear. It's all right to be scared, but control the fear, because I said that fear is what it's going to use, and you've got to control that fear. And to me, I approach these spirits that are bad, and I don't care what they are. I look at them as like bullies, and I get angry when bullies pick on people.
Yep.
So that's how I visualize them as. So that's my mind side. I don't see them as anything. I will not give them credit to be anything else. But hey, I'm going to try to help you. If you don't want help, then get out of here.
Wow. We're talking to Gaylen Chauncey. She is a geomancer. She is a human EMF meter and a monster hunter. And really, she's just a nice lady. But she only scares the ghosts and some of the neighbors. But you bounce around. One of the things you do is you find old graveyards that have been forgotten. Maybe a battlefield grave site, or a homesteaders back in the day when we could bury our family on our own property. But you actually have been identifying those, and you do identify some of the old military graves going back from the Revolutionary War and up to Civil War. Is that still something you do?
Oh, absolutely. I just, as a matter of fact, about 2 months ago, came across a lost graveyard. And where did he die? He died in 1736, and he was actually 86 years old. Whoa. But I knew that the graveyard hadn't been disturbed. I mean, it's overgrown because it had the emblem from the Revolutionary War that only was put on tombstones of the veterans of it. Okay.
Wow.
And from 1776, and they're very rare, so I was just relieved that nobody had seen it, because I knew that anybody else would have taken it. And so it's, to me, it's a way for them to be remembered. Okay, I do that, and it's not like I'm actually looking for any spirits. I just want them to be remembered. Okay. Right. And for, and I do the same for abandoned houses, but abandoned houses is good practice for me. It's good practice for my team. Okay. We don't know if it's haunted. Most of them are. I don't know why they stay in these desecrated houses about to fall down, but it is good practice for us. Plus, I like the thrill. You never know what's around the corner. You don't know what's down those stairs. This is not a tour. This is not somebody's nice house. So there is excitement. It gets the adrenaline off, and it makes great practice. So I still take pictures of those too. And I mean, it just blows my mind how many abandoned houses and cemeteries are actually out there. But there's a lot of them.
I think a lot of times the spirits will be in an old building or an old house, but they don't see it as dilapidated. They see it as it was.
Exactly. They see it like it used to be. And so I always wondered, and I've always finally falls down and there's nothing left. I wonder if they still see it, if they're still there, because it's always been a curious question for myself, whether or not they still haunt the same spot.
Yes,
but
they do.
So I just so for me, a lot of times these are one-shot deals. The only time that I will go back, because if a spirit is asking for help, because I tell them, if you want help, tell me, help me. I'll listen to it when I get home, and if you say help me, I'll come back.
Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, yeah. I had one guy come said, little bastards. And I was like, I believe this man said that about, so some of them are not happy that we are around. And it's sad. You'll hear people crying. They're not saying anything. They're just crying, and it is a sad business, but you have to go, I can't save everybody. I want to, but to me, they are alive as we are alive. They just don't have the physical body. So I don't see them. I see them lost and in trouble. And like I've said before, sometimes, what you think is a bad ghost actually is just a frustrated ghost, angry, just lost and can't get anybody to communicate. And I think that it's just very difficult for a ghost to communicate. So I think that's why they like using my voice recorder. I think I have, something about my energy. Batteries are gone in 30 seconds at a time, but hey, I'm getting their voices.
Yeah.
And that has happened to me where I've just, like we were talking about, just whole pack of 24 batteries gone. And all in 2 hours. But if they ask for help, I will step in and help them. But all of it is about what I can learn, too. Anything I can learn, anything that might make me understand about it would be wonderful. I am not afraid of death myself. Okay, I'll be judged and I'll forgive myself. I've been a good girl, but I went to college, so I've done a couple things, and I'm not proud.
That's so funny. You say, I've been a good girl, but I did go to college. Hold on. I'm not sending my kids to school. Then what? I know what you mean. And I know that. And I know that life goes on. And to tell you the truth, I tell everybody the same thing. I don't want that old shriveled body. I want a new one. So I'm more happy to move on toward the light. I don't want to die now, of course not. But my mentality is there's nothing to be afraid of, and don't let anything hold you back. And I teach my family and my friends this. I go to retirement homes. I guess a lot of people don't think about, maybe a lot of these elderly people have ghost stories to tell. Oh, heck yeah.
About that,
heck yeah.
Past, from maybe they heard from their grandmother 75 years ago. Yeah. And I talk to them. And sometimes they see things that they're scared, and I have to talk to them going, don't let that bother you, forget it.
Well, I go down to Kennewick, Washington, to the International Bigfoot Conference, and it's funny, a lot of the people who go to that conference every year are seniors or retired, and it's about the only place they can go to talk to people about the stuff that they saw when they were kids. Because at home it's like, oh, don't get Granny talking about the big hairy thing picking apples in the orchard again. Because Granny, she's a bit loony. Well, Granny can go there and talk to the other people who saw the same thing. So it's like, yeah, go to the senior center and talk to them about ghosts and stuff they saw when they were younger.
Exactly. And like I said, I talk to them too and tell them that, when it comes time, don't be afraid and don't, be easy on yourself. Yeah. If you can forgive somebody else, you can forgive them.
Well, that's the hard part. It's I found it's easy to forgive other people. It's just not, I'm the last person to forgive. Like I keep thinking, oh, that was a stupid thing to do. So I'm way more hard on myself than I am on other people. Well,
my attitude is, and everybody thinks, I'm so nonchalant, but, as far as I'm concerned, God owes me one, okay? Because I'm doing this, thanks for the gift, and I'm owed one, all right? So I have no worries whatsoever, and I am deadly serious when I say that. He owes me. happy. Okay, I know everybody. I will at least go, I did it. Are you happy? Look how many souls I managed to save, before it was my time. And that's, look at it. Yeah.
God's going to look at you and say, yeah, I don't owe you anything. I put you in that position to do that. It's your job.
Yeah, exactly.
Why do I have to give you a bonus at the end of the year?
There you go.
Just doing your work.
Expect that bonus.
Have you ever bumped into a cryptid, dogman, Bigfoot, aliens? Tell me those stories.
Okay, I'm going to tell you Bigfoot. Okay.
I like that. Oh, jeez.
Okay. All right. Now, this happened 15 years ago. And this is in Natural Bridge, Virginia, which is about an hour and a half from my location. And once again, I'm out in areas looking for cemeteries. And I found one. Okay. It was pretty old. And I went, all right. Well, we kind of like my friends, / team, or kind of like look for places that we're there to ghost hunt, but we're there to have a good time and make sure nobody can see us. All right. And so I found the place, and it was about a mile or so off the road. And so I got them, and I said, we're going up here at night. We're going to do this investigation in this very old graveyard I found. Everything was fine. We did a couple drinks, and walked off in our different directions, do our own thing. And I decided to go to the very back where I could see, when I had scouted a place, I saw the very old tombstones that were just rocks. And I got back there, and when I did, all of a sudden I hear this loud banging. And I'm going, that sounds like something beating a tree. There is nobody around for miles. And this is like 1 a.m. So I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. What is making that noise? And my voice recorder picked up it all. Okay. So I backed up and, I'm putting my senses out. And, I didn't feel anything because it wasn't a spirit, but that's what I was trying to feel for. And I was like, well, there's no spirits over here that could, be doing that, try to scare us. But when I backed out of the area, it stopped. And I went, well, that's kind of weird. So nonchalantly, I decided not to scare my team and friends and said, listen, just don't go into that part of the graveyard and let's just check out the rest of it. So we did, and so we decided we were going to leave. And I thought, well, I don't back down easily. My curiosity is up, And so I told them what I heard. And I said, let's go back here and check it out. So we go back there and check it out, and it started up again as soon as we entered the area. And I was like, what is making that noise? And this was like a partial moon, so we weren't really using our flashlights because we could see pretty well. So I grabbed my flashlight because this is all trees, and I shine it up to see, in the direction of what's making the noise. And all I see is this thing holding this huge tree branch, and it's banging it on the side of this other huge tree. All right. It took it a second before it clicked that the light was on it. Okay. So it turned around. First thing I know for sure, the thing had to be over 6 feet tall. Okay. It was completely covered in hair. It kind of looked like reddish brown almost. Okay. And what was weird was the head was on the shoulders, but it looked like a football player, with the shoulder pads on, because I didn't even see a neck. Yeah. So it kind of looked weird that way, like the head was just sitting on the top of the shoulders with no neck. And it turned its head. And I was like, well, that was pretty cool. And when it did, it narrowed its gaze on us. And his eyes were glowing yellow. And I've seen that look from my cat many times to recognize it. And it snarled. And when it snarled its teeth, I was expecting like maybe, like teeth from a cat or something. They were square, just like a monkey's. Like ours. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I mean, it was growling. I was like, uh-oh. And in seconds only passed, thinking, okay, all right, what do we do? Next thing I know, my friends were screaming, and they take off running down through the woods. I looked behind me, and all I saw was flashlight beams going in all directions, and they stumbled way out of there. And they leave me behind, okay? Now, this thing was pissed, and I knew it was pissed. And I realized at that second, I went, uh-oh, we're trespassing. And I knew, I don't know how I knew that, but I knew that that's why it was mad at us. And I've never done this with a ghost ever or anything, but I put my hands up and I was like, whoa, boy, in a very calming voice. We didn't come here looking for Bigfoot. We came here looking for ghosts. And so I start backing away because I did not trust turning my back on that thing and running. I just didn't trust it. And I back up and I'm tripping over tombstones as I'm backing up backwards. And finally, I got about halfway through there and I just turn around and take off running. Of course, it took about 5 minutes for my so-called friends, and mentally I was like, I need new friends to get me to unlock the car to let me in. Okay, because they were in full panic and kept locking and unlocking it. Take off out of there, and where do we go to? To the cabin we rented in the woods. Okay, like a mile away from the spot. Yeah. And I'm just like going, this is not happening to us. So, needless to say, we didn't get any sleep that night because every little noise was Bigfoot, and we were, just all huddled together like kids waiting for morning. So the morning comes, and I made them swear not to tell anybody because I said, they laugh at me enough for ghost hunting. We are not saying we ran into Bigfoot. So I get to, so we stop at the little store right next to the place that rented the cabins to get some coffee. And I looked down, and I got them, and there were brochures for hillbilly Bigfoot hunting. And I was like, what? You're kidding me. And the brochure saying, Bigfoot has been sighted in this area, and come with us, a hillbilly, and we'll take you on a tour, and you might run into Bigfoot. And I was like, well, I thought Bigfoot was just mainly in California. When did it make an appearance in Virginia? Okay. So I have a timeshare at a golf resort in Harrisonburg, which is about 2.5 hours away. And it was in a newspaper. It's Massanutten. And Bigfoot was sighted there going across the green, the golf course, that a Bigfoot was sighted up there. So it's obviously in this area. But it was the only time I ran into Bigfoot, and it was not, we weren't looking for Bigfoot. Didn't even know Bigfoot was in the area. I had no idea. And and I don't care what people say. Yeah, you all go out Bigfoot hunting. That thing was an animal. To me, it wasn't human at all. There was just, it didn't, you know what I mean? It might have, some kind of maybe human appearance, but for me, it was a dangerous animal, and it was angry, and I'm shocked that it didn't come after us, to tell you the truth.
Oh, they're big cuddle monsters. Come on.
Oh, yeah. These people that go out without any protection in the woods looking for Bigfoot, I was like, you all have no idea what that thing was. It was like coming across a bear. Walking on the trail, and there's a grizzly in front of you that's mad. That's what it was. When, it growled, you should have heard that growl. I mean, it was like, I was like, uh-oh. And that's when I was fearful for my life, because this thing would have torn me apart in a second, and I was scared that it was going to do that. And, like friends took off and left me behind. It's just, they were that scared. They were so startled. They just ran. There was only reaction. And I was like,
all you do is use all that energy around you like a big fireball.
Yeah, you should have heard me too. I was like, using my calm voice. Whoa. I was like, we made a mistake here. So never went back. I'm staying away from that area. There's no way. I mean,
I've been told a number of things about Bigfoot, and one of the belief systems I kind of lean to is that people talk about there's Bigfoot that, it peeks around a corner of a tree at you and it ducks behind the tree, and when you go look behind the tree, there's nothing there. Like it disappeared. Mm-hmm. And a psychic once told me that Bigfoot, those ones are called an echo, EKKO, and they're actually an alien being looking after the animal, like you saw, the critter, which they're looking after them because that is our pure DNA from
I tell everybody there's definitely the missing link.
What's that?
I call it the missing link. You know, they're looking for the missing link. Yeah, I said, I think that's the missing link, because it did have some, you know, I can see where people would give it human, you know, I could see that because it had, you know, 4 fingers and a thumb, you know, and it was just, and I believe it, and I believe just like people, there might be some Bigfoot that are out there that are actually intelligent, speaking language, and you know what, and then you've got the ones that are, you know, like the hillbillies, you know, they're mountain Bigfoot, and now that's not what they're about.
No, I think that, they do speak a language, and they're social and they're family oriented, but they're being protected by those the fake Bigfoot, the echoes that look like them. And when you get too close to a family group, the fake one, the echo, kind of sticks his head up and says, "Hey, look over here," while the family's running out the other way. Oh,
I'll be running the other way next time I run into them. No doubt about it. I don't care how nice they are. I am gone. So the echoes won't have to worry about moi here. Okay.
Now, you still do some investigations for MUFON down there.
I do.
You and I were talking a couple of years ago, and you had an experience with what some people might describe as a small reptilian alien. Tell the listener about that one.
That one was weird. Okay.
No. As opposed to all the other stuff that you run into? No, that was weird.
It's like watching, you know, Land of the Lost and seeing the slee stack, you know, and, it be intelligent, and, you know, it was just a shock to see one. Yeah, I didn't even know they looked like that. You know, and to see the experience was it was small. It couldn't have been more than 3 feet tall, I would guess. You know, kind of like the Greys, but a little smaller. And it was intelligent. Now, this is what blows my mind about this, okay? No matter what species you have, okay, you need a thumb to grasp, to build, okay?
Yeah.
So when I see a ship that this thing belonged to, that's what didn't, even though it wore clothes and had things are utility built, I couldn't imagine how that species could have built this ship, without that ability to do that. So it was almost like it didn't match the ship that it was in. Okay. So, and it's weird that I'm looking at this alien going, well, you look weird, okay. But then I'm going, well, your ship doesn't match what you would look like. It's not something I would see, okay. But my experience with it, for some reason, it was mad at me. And it was actually like trying to talk to me. And it had in its hand just, like Harry Potter and his wand, but it glowed white, okay. And he kept pointing it at me. And it was speaking a language which kind of shocked me, but I didn't understand a word it said. And it was letting me to know something, to understand it, and I thought the coolest thing in the whole wide world was when it went in the ship and took off and revved up like a motorcycle. And boom, it took off straight up. I went, for nice and loud, like it didn't have a muffler on or something. And it was just a whole weird experience. It just landed, did that, and yelled at me and took off. And I'm sitting there with my mouth wide open going, what just happened?
He was mad at you because I think you told me once that it was like he wasn't anticipating you be able to see him.
No, I don't think. Yeah, I think sometimes they're kind of like shocked that I am, because it's whatever veiled they, it just sometimes I think with my ability to see, the frequency they are on, trying to hide themselves or something, that I can see with that frequency. And so it's not the first time I've actually surprised many ghosts by seeing them. that they were shocked that I could see them, and they would actually back away when they realized I could.
You're out there scaring ghosts.
I know. It's like, so, like they're shocked. They're like, oh, you could see me? And start backing away from me like I'm dangerous or something. And I don't understand that because I'm not. I don't think I am. And I like, like I've told you before, the aliens, they were A-okay in my world because they didn't put off that energy. They were just like humans. They put off their own energy. I don't feel they weren't dangerous. You know what I mean? It wasn't like certain ghosts and monsters that I was encountering that were. So, and hey, high five to them. They can do whatever they want because they didn't scare me. Yeah. As long as they didn't scare me, they were A-okay. And I'm still here, so I guess their intent was never anything bad. I just feel like for some reason I'm in this database that every species out there has access to. And there's Gaylen. Well, she's at this address here, and you can go pick her up.
Oh, Galen's on the tour. Yeah. Next time we go to Earth, we can stop in Roanoke, Virginia, and go see Gaylen, and then and they all come down with their kids and they point. See her? Look, that's her. Stay away from her. She's scary, but
it is. And if my husband hadn't seen it happen one night with his own eyes, me getting abducted, he would never believe it. He couldn't do anything. It was like that sleep paralysis. All he could see it, and it would just put him to sleep. And he was like, I saw this, and this was real. This couldn't have happened. There's no way, but it happened. And and I was like, yeah. In my world,
I told you so.
Yeah, it's really weird that I have these aliens, outer space experiences as well as these ghost experiences. I know people that are UFO hunters who've never seen one.
Oh, for crying out sakes. Really?
There's no ghost hunters that never seen a ghost but would die to see one. And here I am going, oh man, you need to really just step into my life for one day, and tell me, this is why I'm so nonchalant about it all. It's just something I've had to accept a long time ago. And there's nothing I'm not going to live my life scared. And I'm going to try to do something, And if these aliens like me, well, hey, more power to them.
Yeah.
And now,
bring me gold. Yeah. There are full-on ghost hunter television shows on where one particular one they've been on, I think, for 10 years, and they've yet to get a picture of a ghost. Yeah. And you can get, like, the paranormal groups that I was associated to, you could go out every couple of weeks and get photos of them. And I don't mean an orb. I mean, like, there's somebody standing in the door. and I'm thinking, why can't... Yeah, you can go out and, yes, you can hear these little voices and stuff, and you get all excited, or if you say, if there's somebody here, you can touch me and use my energy, and when the being does touch them, they scream and run down the hall. But I'm like, smarten up. Anyway, we had a picture of a ghost. Sometimes I wonder if it's some government plot. Well, we're going to have them go looking for ghosts, but we can't. The network doesn't want you to show a picture of a ghost on television. It's like, really?
There is Waverly Hills Sanatorium in Kentucky. It is famous. I've been there 3 times. There are so many ghosts there that it's not even funny. And I've known groups that have gone there and got nothing. And I'm sitting here going, and I'm going, how is that possible? Do you know how many... There's no way that you're not getting something because there's so many of them there. And, you just learn to realize, I tell everybody, I said, they have to want to talk. I can't force them to talk. You might yell at them and get them mad enough to say something involuntary. I'm not going to piss them off. And I said, it's that, I don't have 20 cameras set up in different locations to catch ghosts. I've got the camera I'm holding in my hand. So to me, it's because they want to be seen, they want to be heard, and for some people they don't want to, and for others they do. I don't know if it's because that person truly, their eyes are not really open, their energy's not, you know what I'm saying, that I don't know, they're not open to it maybe.
Or they've had a couple of beer in the parking lot and they're just there to horse around.
Yes. And they don't really take it seriously. And, when you've been with these people that I've been with for years, the stuff they would tell you, and they say, and there's something about Gaylen because it happens when she's there. And I said, I can get nothing on my voice recorder. She walks in the room, and all of a sudden 5 ghosts are talking. And they said, EMF devices are going off, light bulbs are exploding. And they'll say there's something about you. So it's gotten to the point where I have to fight who goes with me when we split up in twos because everybody wants to go with me. And I'm going, okay, share me. I'll share, get you an hour, get you an hour, get you an hour, and I'll split myself up. And that's why I like challenges. That's why I like places to go to I've never been to before that opens up that and shows me, am I going to get anything? And then be mind blown every time, because every time I am, doesn't matter how many pictures, how many voices I get, I am always just going, wow. And it really amazes me. It just does.
Well, you do it right way too. You have a idea that you can cross them over. You can assist them carrying on. Where a lot of people would go to a place like Waverly Sanatorium and rattle the cage. Yes. And those poor souls, those cages were rattled when they were alive. Or sexual and physical abuse and the torture that they would have gone through.
So long, people didn't understand that there was no pain meds. They did all these surgeries and did everything to them without any pain medication. Yeah. And so it was just, and for people to treat them like it's a joke, like it's a game, My attitude when I go in is always happy, because you have to project that energy. That is, I need to, have that energy to draw them to me too. Because that's what it is projecting the energy and bringing them close to me. I've had a lot of ghost children, men, women, go, you're so pretty. And I always appreciate that, but I'm sitting here going, well, I can't, is that really, are they physically talking about me? Until I had, last year I had an aura photography. And had my aura photographed, and I thought, photographed, and I thought something was wrong with it. Okay, because the pictures they were showing me were usually just one color, different colors, but one color. Mine was a rainbow of different colors, like 5 different colors. And I went, is something wrong with the system? And they went, no, that's you. Normal. We don't see it often enough, but that is aura. And when I saw that, I went, that is what they are saying. That's what they're saying. Graham, yes, I'm beautiful. Thank you. I'm so pretty. They're talking about my aura because they can see it.
Oh, yeah. You come in like a big glow-in-the-dark peacok.
Yeah. And I was like, now I get why they always said that. And, like I said, that's something you learn.
Talking about Waverly Sanatorium, that is a place that I always felt I wouldn't support, because they charge you a bunch of money to go in and rattle the cages of the poor spirits. But with you, a group or somebody going with you, at least it's the right way. You know what I'm saying?
And I have to sneak around about it, because I'm told with specific instructions, you'd be surprised how many people know who I am, and they'll tell me you are not allowed to pass, have these spirits pass through and da-da-da-da. And I'm like, oh, okay, don't worry about that. All right.
So they're telling you not to cross people?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I ran into that in Gettysburg. In the Gettysburg town, a girl had been murdered by her boyfriend back in the 80s. And I asked why, what do you guys do? Have you ever tried to cross over the spirit? And the people running the tour looked at me like I was from Mars. And all us tourists that were there looking, what are you going to do? I said, well, but if we cross her over, then we can't charge you money to come here and look.
So I help them with that, and I do it, but I have to be very discreet. When I go to places like that and talk to them, letting them know I am there to help. To help them, and I need you. So while I'm doing my thing, because they can't catch everything I'm saying. Do you know what I mean? So, cameras out there, or they just, the guards can't hear everything that I'm saying. So, and that's how I do. That's why I feel like, because believe me, they catch me doing other things. And when first time I went there, they actually told me, because they have cameras where they got the inside, tour guides, and they can watch you while you're all doing your thing. And they came up to me, and I went on a smoking break outside, and they were telling me that they had never seen anybody not scared. Like, they said, you're not scared. You're walking these rooms, these hallways, and you don't even turn on your flashlight half the time, and you're by yourself. Yeah, and they said I don't even walk this place by myself during the daytime, and yet we can tell, that this is not freaking you out. I said, no. It's, really cool, and I like it. And, I said, I'm here because I'm curious, but I didn't know how many spirits. But to tell you the truth, the reason why I went there was I was thinking it was a portal, slip in the dimension. Yeah. What's the ley lines crossed there? That is actually what I was there looking for. I really didn't come there looking for the ghosts, and I didn't even know if there really were any ghosts there. When I first went, I was there on a Pacific thing to see if there was some kind of portal, and I realized there has to be, because of some of the things the ghosts were saying. What kind of place is this? I've never seen this place before. And really, why would you come here, if you had the whole earth to roam and hang out at this place? Come on. So when you get kind of voices like that, I'm going, that sounds like they are here for the first time. So, which means they must have just got here. But, why come here? And it was just that's why I was investigating. What shocked me was there's so many ghosts. And when I went, every time, it was probably about every 5 minutes, and it was getting on my last nerve, because we're talking about 6 hours of recordings, and I was getting mad. These voices, and all they kept saying was, come on, come on, come on, come on, over and over again. And I was by myself. So it was, they were trying to direct me someplace, I don't know where, because I can't physically hear them. This is after the fact. So I didn't know where they were trying to pull me to.
Wow. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. It was. So I think it is, I think it is one of these places that are like that. And like all places like that, there's a lot of spirits, a lot of ghosts. I use the term ghost because that's old school. I'm sorry, everybody, if I offend anybody by not calling them spirits.
Yeah, a ghost is a ghost.
Exactly. Yeah. I've had ghosts call themselves ghosts, but I never had them call themselves a spirit.
Yeah, because they're old school.
Mm-hmm. And they don't.
Waverly would be one of those places when my Patreon people, as the Patreon list grows and it gets up to my 2,222 Patreons donating $3 a month, we can do a draw and send some people there with you.
Yeah.
That would be kind of cool.
It would.
I'll wait in the car, but.
No, you're coming too.
Oh, okay. Crying out sakes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's.
So, what do you think of that? Being able to ask for, if people like the podcast and chip in $3 a month, and then get to that point where I can actually draw names for somebody to bounce over to a place like that. Do you think that's a good idea?
I do, and I'm not bragging when I say this, but being around me is a lot higher chance of getting some evidence or having an experience than it is being by yourself with somebody else, okay? Only because it happens. Yeah, and this is why my friends and my team fight over me when we go to places, because that's exactly what they're doing it for. So I'm not promising anything, but I'm like, you get a voice recorder, you get your camera and video camera, and come with me. Your chances are pretty good you're going to get something, and that's what I love about people who are new with me, even though they believe me. Oh, I believe these voices are real, and on your recorder, I know you didn't cheat, but you should hear them when they come with me and they get it on their voice recorder for the first time.
Wow.
Because they're sitting there, no, you didn't take voice recorders in my hand the whole time. You did not take my voice recorder and put these people saying this stuff in there. There's no way. It was with me the whole time.
Yeah.
So I knew that with everybody that believes me, there's just that little bit of doubt left until they experience themselves and they go, well, she couldn't have done that. I went, yeah, I did that. I stole your recorder, put some voices in ours, and gave it back to you. Yeah, I've got 6 hours of my own to listen to. I don't care about yours.
Lord, yeah.
That's the thing, because it just takes up so much time. But then when they send it to me, they're like, and then they get so excited by going, yes, honest, listen to it. And I went, well, it's 4 hours long. Where did you hear it at? Well, and I went,
I forgot to write it down.
Yeah. Mm-hmm, yeah. They get so excited that, and you and I experience this. It takes, and my best advice is don't do anything when you're listening to it. Don't do your homework. Don't do your housework. Don't be on the computer, because you think that you're listening to it. You're not. And you'd be amazed about what you will be missing if you just don't sit there ready to mark it that you heard a voice at this marker. And my stuff goes from, you experience this, when you go from a voice recorder onto your computer, you're downloading into another program, you're downloading into another program so I can put it on YouTube. Well, each time it's degrading that signal. Okay. So what I would think at first was a loud EVP, by the time I get it merged into another audio system, put it on there, it's too low, I throw it away. I only put a fraction of my EVPs out there. That's not all of them. That's not even half of them. Yeah. And so I'm like, when you hear these people, these are just some of them.
One of the things I learned when I was doing EVPs, that there was these purists out there saying, well, here's the digital recorder. You got this little word. That's it. If you can't hear it saying anything, move on. Yeah. And then I would use a program like Audacity and things like that, and I would slow it down, and again, get an entire sentence. Mm-hmm. And they'd say, "Oh no, you've modified it. You've slowed it down." It's like, shut the front door. This is evidence. This is what it was. I just slowed it down so you could hear it. Oh no, you modified it. Screw you. I'm a policeman. This is how evidence is presented. I can articulate what I did. I slowed it down to 18% of the original volume using this program. Well, no, you modified it. You have no idea how to articulate evidence. Because you're a plumber, you're a, whatever. This is what you do. And, oh, no, then you shouldn't listen to that. Like, tell you what, I believe in ghosts. I have evidence ghosts exist.
Yeah.
So that's already, I don't have to prove it to anybody. I already know that. In fact, this podcast, in my very first little episode, I articulated ghosts exist, and I'm not here to prove to you they do. So move on. Like, we've got it. Ghosts exist. This is what they've told me. I've heard them. Now we know they exist. Let's go have some fun.
Yeah.
Okay. And we don't have to prove it. Everybody's out there to prove it. Everyone's out there, oh my God, I have it on my recorder, therefore they must exist. Yeah, okay. Pat you on the head.
Yeah.
Now
we know that.
Let's go have some fun. Oh, okay. Sorry, just vented.
It's like I was describing the adventure, and I hate to say that. It's just this thrill of getting their voices, but that's where the fun comes in, where you're making it that way, but it is evidence, and you're sitting here going, I don't care whether you believe it or not. And I've told people, frankly, I don't care. You know how many times I've been told since I was a small kid, they're not real. It's just your imagination. It's to make believe. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's so to the point where it just was right over my head. I don't care what you believe or not. And it blows my mind that people don't believe me, yet they expect me to believe them.
Yeah, and which is funny because you've actually seen them, and they're telling you they don't exist.
Yeah,
because they haven't seen them.
Yeah, that's what it is. And
it's like, well, you can't see them. Well, I'm perfect, and I haven't seen them. Therefore, they must not exist.
And it wasn't easy. It's not easy for anybody who are like us that are growing up not knowing what it really is. And I didn't have the internet back then. There were, no cable shows. The only thing I had about ghost stories at the library was Sleepy Hollow, and the Happy Pumpkin. There was nothing for me to access, and then it's hard, even if you have information like that, when your own parents don't believe you.
Yeah.
Your own parents. Okay. And that, you're having to deal with that. So you had to learn to separate it from your normal life so it doesn't interfere with your normal life. And that's the key. So you're balancing these two different worlds and pretending that, hey, I am normal. And I am, just because I have this ability and people judge me for it. And I don't mean to. I've had to keep my mouth shut over years when I see stuff, not to blurt it out. Okay, because it scares people. And it was, the only thing I'm really grateful for is that Ghost Hunter show. And I've watched maybe 3 episodes. Okay, I don't follow a lot of Ghost Hunter TV shows, but they made it at least people aware that it's more accepting now than it was when I was hiding in the closet, and only through the church could you get a hold of me to do any ghost hunting. And it was very hard to find somebody like me. You didn't tell anybody because it was the stereotype that was attached to it, and I didn't want people to look at me that way. Yeah. And now, when I came out of the closet, I was like, ghost hunting is a lot more acceptable now. People have a tendency to believe a little bit more. I just, and to me, I love working with other groups. I don't care what country you're in. I just find it amazing that it's all over the world that there are believers like us, that there are ghost hunters like us. And paranormal investigator would be the proper term, but I use a general one because that's what everybody's familiar with. Yeah. And share our information, going, what do you think this is? I have no idea what this is. What can you help me with this case? And it has really helped, but there are good ghosts out there, and people need to realize, if they realize that a ghost is not stepping between here and heaven, which is why God makes us do his work for him, okay? Because, we got to do the work for him. He controls heaven, but he doesn't control down here. So this is why we have a job with him. And ghosts can't step in and out. They just can't. It's not a possibility. It's very rare for something like that to happen. Yeah. So, when we're speaking with ghosts, they are in the here and now. They are not on the other side. Yes, messages can get across, and it does happen, okay? I'm not denying that, but in most cases, and so why are they here and they shouldn't be here?
Yeah. And I was going to mention too, you have a YouTube site.
Yes.
After Life Goes On.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I would suggest, if anybody wants to see something that you've bumped into on some of your investigations, to go to the YouTube After Life Goes On and see kind of some of the stuff that you've been posting up there.
and listen to some of the stories. And some of these stories go back years ago, and I document everything. And so it's, people's experiences, and do you realize that you're not alone, because telling me they realized, like we were talking about earlier with those older people coming up to the convention, they're so relieved that they can tell me the story because they know I'll believe them.
Yeah.
A relief off their chest just to tell somebody who believed them. I'm going, I just needed to tell somebody that, and I get that a lot. Where they were just, and I could see the relief in them, like it was a burden that they carried this and nobody would ever believe them. And so a lot of people don't understand. It's very emotionally and mentally draining on a lot of people who have these experiences, and it can last for years.
Oh, it's amazing. Well, thank you very much. I hear strange music in the background, which means it's time for me to let you go. And I want to thank Gaylen Chauncey for coming in today and sharing her stories with us. This is very, very cool. And please go to her Facebook page, Afterlife Goes On. If my tongue doesn't fall out. Afterlife Goes On Investigations. Also, Afterlife Goes On YouTube. We just were talking about it. And her website, Afterlife Goes On. Just Google that, and it'll get you to the Ghost Hunters of Virginia, ASI. And there's also a whack of stories there. Just an amazing. Just click on Ghost Stories on her website and go. And gosh darn it, if you guys want to get your name in for a trip down to Waverly Sanatorium with Galen, just go to my website, theoraclesjamestyson.com, click on the Patreon link, throw $3 a month at us, and when we get up to that 2,222 mark, we are going to be drawing names for trips like that to off to Waverly, off to Gettysburg, off to whatever you're interested in. If you're a UFO buff, we'll send you off to a UFO conference. May end up dragging Galen with you because she has to be looked after. She's like, you always needs people around her to look after her. Yeah. Yeah. I can see what's going to happen to you someday. You'll be like in a senior's home in a wheelchair, and a bunch of 20-something ghost hunters are going to come out and say, okay, let's go get Galen. Take her with us. And we'll just push the wheelchair in the middle of the hall, and then we'll... Yeah, because you are the antenna, aren't you?
Yeah. And they'll leave me behind when they get scared, yes.
Yes, always leave you behind. It's like I went scuba diving with a friend in Mexico and doing shore dives, and he had this great big monster knife hooked up to his calf. And we were standing in a place getting air, and a bunch of people in line behind us. And I looked at him and said, what do you have a big knife for? He said, sharks. So I'm being cocky, and I go, what are you going to do with a big knife like that? And a shark comes. He says, I don't have to use it on the shark. I just have to cut you in the back of the knee. Okay, fine. See, that's what they're going to do to you. They're just going to nick your leg and leave you for the for the ghost or the Bigfoot or the alien abduction, and which is something that we're going to talk about one day. I'm going to come back and grab you kicking and screaming, and we're going to talk about your abduction experiences, because that's cool.
Yeah. They're always fun. At least they're entertaining. Not boring, I can tell you that.
Oh, Lord. Thank you, Galen.
Thank you. Bye, James.
Condemned to the long, endless night, and I live in the absence of light, and my shadow has life of its own, watching you while you sleep all alone. condemned to the long, endless night. And I live in the absence of light.
All right, that's it. Let's roll. And hey! Let's be careful out there.
Far over the snow